You might have questions, I think. Feel free to ask them.
Your brochure states that we have been living in the Golden Age for 500 years now.
Yes, that's why the Vedic knowledge has spread around the world over these 500 years. Previously, it was a deep secret. 500 years ago, only specially initiated people had access to the Vedic knowledge. Now, the Vedic knowledge is available to everyone. This signifies the spread of the Golden Age. Gradually, the Vedic knowledge will change people's consciousness. Many people have already become vegetarians, not just Hindus, but also in the West and in America. Gradually, people's consciousness is changing for the better, despite ongoing degradation. Soon, the process will accelerate. Question from the note. Please explain the concept of befoulment. For example, the setting sun or using the toilet after eating. All right, good question. When the sun sets, it is considered a period of befoulment, the moment when the sun sets. If a person conceives a child at sunset, the child will be born with a demonic nature and very poor character. Also, it's best not to eat during sunset. If a person makes important decisions at this time, they are doomed to failure. After eating, a person must wash their hands, eyes, and in some cases rinse their feet. Hands, eyes, feet, you might even sprinkle a few drops on the top of your head. According to the Vedas, there are many rules related to body cleansing, but we'll talk about that next time. If there's a disruption in the daily routine, what's the best way to rearrange it? If a person hasn't slept at night, what's better, to sleep during the day or wait until 9 p.m. and go to bed then? Very good question. You can take a short nap during the day. But if you feel like you no longer want to sleep, don't sleep. However, go to bed at 8 in the evening. Not at 9, as written here, but at 8 you should go to bed. The next day, get up at 5 a.m. or 5:30. You will get what you need. Don't think you need to sleep more if you worked through the night. You should go to bed at 8 p.m. and get up at 5:30. Or even at 7 p.m. if you're not getting enough sleep. The idea is, you nap a little during the day after the night shift, say 2 hours. In this case, it's best to sleep when the sun is rising. Because if it's already sunset and you sleep after lunch, that will really be bad. It will bring misfortune into your life. What power does olive oil have? Olive power. Some say it's more powerful than butter. That's nonsense. Butter and oil have fiery power. The purest fiery power on earth is found in clarified butter. You won't find a purer fiery power. Ayurveda states, if you need to treat diseases with the power of fire, a person should combine medicine with the consumption of clarified butter. There's no one for whom clarified butter is not suitable. If it doesn't suit someone, it means there is a disease that needs to be treated with clarified butter. If a person starts consuming it in microdoses, the disease goes away, even if they are unaware of it. Then the clarified butter starts to suit such a person. Please tell, how can one calm down causeless anxiety? You need to stick to a daily routine, then it will subside. Sometimes I experience a complete imbalance of the nervous system. I'm telling you, it's because you go to bed late and get up late. The one who wrote the note, tell me honestly, is that true? You get up later than you should and go to bed later than you should. Is that true? Silence is a sign of consent. This means you need to start following a daily routine. Only then can you calm your nervous system. Anxiety means you're being punished by time. My 21-year-old son, a student not burdened by studies, sleeps a lot. He comes home after classes and crashes out for 1.5 to 2 hours. What could this be related to? It's because he's not following a proper daily routine. He doesn't get up on time, doesn't go to bed on time, doesn't eat on time. If he starts doing everything on time, his desire to sleep during the day will disappear immediately. I will be answering all your questions like this. You might think, what a lunatic, saying the same thing over and over. But I'm telling you it's true. If you do it this way, you'll see good results. Is there an organization in Dnepropetrovsk that teaches your knowledge? Yes. See those guys at the table? You can go up and ask them. Here, even after I leave, lectures will continue to be held concerning the knowledge we've discussed. They've been ongoing for 2 years already. Not everyone knows about it. There are already psychologists who provide consultations based on the lectures I give. At what age should a girl get married according to the Vedas? Thank you for your question. How to determine if this is the right person? A woman should ideally marry between the ages of 16 and 22, 23 years. This is the best age. Determining whether this is the right person is quite simple. A man who behaves very responsibly in life and naturally inspires a desire to listen to him and follow his guidance, that is the person with whom married life will bring happiness. This person should be somewhat or significantly older. According to the Vedas, if the husband is older, it brings luck to the wife. If the husband is younger, it is much harder for her to find good fortune in life. If the husband is older, she naturally tends to heed his advice.
What if they are the same age?
The same? That's fine. Everything's actually fine. There's nothing bad about it. Just live. Try to live. Everyone has their own karma. If I've been getting up at 6:20 for 2 weeks now, and happiness still hasn't come, when should I expect it? You shouldn't expect it because you're getting up at 6:20, and by that time, the sun has already risen. You need to get up earlier, do cleansing in the morning, repeat, I wish everyone happiness. Then happiness will come eventually. It turns out it doesn't come immediately. A person must first do all this out of a sense of duty. Gradually their life becomes happier and happier. We talked about this in the last lecture, which many of you did not attend. You should have come and listened. It was called The Power of Goodness. We discussed how a person's fate changes if they do everything correctly. It changes gradually. We talked about the sequences of these life changes. Am I telling the truth? Raise your hand if you were there. Did we talk about this? We did. So sorry, guys. Attend the lectures and you won't have to ask me about this. I explained it. Please explain. What does split personality disorder mean? How to deal with one's negative side? It's a very good question. It turns out the spirit that has entered a person's consciousness can be defeated in only one way. To do this, you need to have mental strength. Mental strength is gained through asceticism practice. Asceticism practice is voluntary deprivation of something. There are asceticism practices in goodness, in passion, and those that lead to degradation. Only asceticism practices in goodness give mental strength, which is called willpower. Willpower is able to overcome everything, including a situation when a person is plagued by spirits. Split personality disorder means being plagued by spirits. Having a very weak mind means time punishes a person because one did not follow the daily routine in past life. The asceticism practice in goodness is respecting elders. This is the first type of asceticism practice in goodness that gives the mental strength of will. The second type of asceticism practice in goodness is following the daily routine. If a person follows the daily routine, mental strength accumulates, and the person becomes capable of dealing with all the twists and turns happening in their mind. Just follow what I say for at least a week, and you'll see how much stronger your mind will become. You'll see that life becomes easier. The third type of asceticism practice in goodness is practicing Hatha Yoga. The fourth type of asceticism practice in goodness is striving to wish everyone happiness, forgiving everyone, and asking for forgiveness. Voluntarily depriving oneself of the desire to get offended, voluntarily depriving oneself of the desire to sleep, doing everything out of time. By performing these voluntary deprivations, a person gains such mental strength that we can't even dream of. You'll see the result. Just in a few days, you'll feel better. What do you think about separate nutrition? How is it better to cleanse the body? At what time? According to the Vedas, the body cleanses by itself when a person does everything on time. If you feel that according to the law of destiny, toxins accumulate in the body, you can cleanse the body. For this, you can have a certain cleansing day once a month, not more often. A person who cleanses the body more often than once a month brings the body into a state of passion. The body will start accumulating toxins itself because it will sense that cleansing will happen anyway. Similarly, when a person is injected with hormones, natural hormones are not secreted. That's how our body works. According to the Vedas, separate nutrition exists. There is such a diet. It is intended for those people who are on the verge of death or have a very serious illness, and they need to eat everything separately. A healthy person should eat everything together. Why? Because the mind must be filled with subtle energy. When we eat, besides chemical substances, we also nourish ourselves with energy. Our scientists devised separate nutrition based on chemical substances, proteins, fats, carbohydrates. So, let them eat just fat, pure fat. Let them have separate nutrition, eating pure fat, pure sugar, pure carbohydrates without any additives, pure protein, and separately ordinary vitamins. Who wants to eat like this? Raise your hand. You're talking about separate nutrition. This is separate nutrition. A regular squash contains a certain amount of proteins, a certain amount of fats. Also, in cereals, there are carbohydrates, there are proteins. This is not separate nutrition. If you separate everything, you should eat like this. Now eat only fat, then only sugar, then drink only water, then eat only protein, and at the end of the day, eat vitamins. This is schizophrenia. When a person eats like this, their mind becomes severely exhausted. The mind consists of character. When we eat, our character is replenished. Hunger is a state of consciousness, not related to the lack of nutrients. It is associated with the exhaustion of the mind, because the mind becomes exhausted every 4 or 5 hours. You need to eat every 4 or 5 hours, otherwise you'll have a mental weakness, meaning the mind requires subtle energy from food. Do you really think that in 4 or 5 hours the supply of chemical substances runs out? Look at everyone's bellies. What lack of chemical substances are you talking about? The belly doesn't get smaller in 4 hours. It remains the same, meaning there are still excess chemical substances. People still want to eat a lot, whether they're fat or thin, because they need nourishment for the mind. A person should eat a variety of food. Varied food means a varied character. When a person eats diverse food, one gets replenished with different character qualities. Their character becomes multifaceted. When I lived in India for quite some time, I treated many Americans. They are obsessed with separate nutrition. Those who have been following separate nutrition for 10-15 years would say, I have good health, but there is a problem. Intense anxiety. I don't know what to do. I have an emotionless character. I have anxiety and worry. When I explained to them that the reason was their diet, they were shocked. Oh my God, how much I've been tormenting myself. For a whole 15 years. They realized they had been depriving themselves. One says, there is another problem. I constantly think about food. I can't detach my thoughts from food for a second, as if I live for food, not food lives for me. Because they are unsatisfied, they want to eat. People who eat separately constantly think, I ate cabbage, in 30 minutes a cucumber, in 30 minutes a cucumber, in 30 minutes a cucumber. The brain constantly thinks about it. You should think about work, but one thinks, all right, I ate a cucumber. In half an hour, I'll eat porridge. One constantly has only food on their mind. When the Pharisees accused Jesus' disciples of eating with unwashed hands, Christ answered, it is not what enters the mouth that befouls a person, but what comes out of the mouth, and twice fed thousands of people with fish. Whoever wrote this note misunderstood Jesus Christ. Eat feces, please. If what enters the mouth does not befouls a person, then feed on feces. It's full of protein, fat, and carbohydrates. Eat feces. If what enters the mouth doesn't befouls a person at all, then eat feces. No problem. If what enters the mouth doesn't befoul, it means you can eat feces. Is the answer convincing or not?
In the Orthodox faith, meat is allowed.
I won't argue with the Orthodox faith. If a person follows the Orthodox faith, they should follow what the Orthodox saints say. I won't argue with that. However, according to the Vedas, what enters the mouth befouls a person. A person should eat blessed food, should eat food in pure goodness. Food can be in passion or lead to degradation. A person should not eat foods that lead to degradation, should not eat food that is befouled by some other factors. For example, if a person cooks with a dirty consciousness thinking about something bad, the food becomes befouled. That's why the same dish cooked by different people tastes different. One is unpleasant to eat while the other is enjoyed by the person. If the incoming food does not befoul, then why is it unpleasant to eat what is cooked by such a person? When a person puts food into their mouth, befoulment occurs the same way. However, If a person eats very dirty food but at the same time makes a strong effort to think about living correctly, such a person purifies their consciousness. This is exactly what Jesus Christ meant. It's better to purify the consciousness when pure food enters your mouth than the dirty one. It's harder to get purified with dirty food. That's what is meant. A message with thanks from yesterday's lecture, happiness exists. It's a nice note, thank you, an inspiring note. Why, in your opinion, hasn't the idea of reincarnation been reflected in the major world religions? Why hasn't it? It has, in all of them. It's just that not everyone wants to know it. Jesus Christ was asked, "Why is this child sick? They are so young. Why were they born sick?" He answered, "For their past sins." This means they had a past life. They are young. What sins do they have? They haven't done anything yet. So there's the idea of reincarnation, and early Christians knew about it. But at the early Christian gatherings, the idea of reincarnation was rejected. Jesus Christ did not reject reincarnation. That's a mistake. Who are the so-called contactees? Often they are people with a corrupted consciousness. They allegedly receive entire books, texts from above. Do they hear or see the text in this case? Mostly, these are people who are misled, because the higher powers who truly want to give people knowledge thoroughly test the person first. Such a person must have a spiritual teacher to overcome selfishness within themselves. And when they conquer selfishness within themselves, the higher powers give them knowledge. A person who receives knowledge just like that, mostly they receive it from demonic forces that want to lead them astray. This knowledge is very easy and accessible. A strong desire to feel extraordinary is enough in this case, the feeling that I'm the one receiving higher knowledge. This is enough to become a contactee. Desire for fame, honor, and respect, obviously. A true person who aspires to knowledge cultivates humility within themselves. According to the Vedic knowledge, whatever a person hears from within, they must always verify with the scriptures, and also compare it with the opinion of their mentor. No mentor in any religion will say it's a good thing when you start hearing voices, some voice dictating something to you, especially in the early stages of spiritual practice. Only when a person reaches the highest sanctity do they begin to understand what needs to be listened to and what not. Therefore, it's very dangerous to heed to voices coming from within when you have no spiritual strength. What happens if a person can't always stick to a daily routine? Thank you for the wonderful question. It's a very good question. The truth is, the force of time punishes us in this way. It deprives us of the ability to stick to a daily routine. And all of you here in the hall, if you don't have the ability to stick to a daily routine, it means you're being punished by the force of time. How to get out of this state? The first thing you need is to strongly desire to stick to a daily routine. And over the next couple of years, this constant desire to stick to a daily routine will change your entire life. You will eventually start sticking to a daily routine. There's no doubt about it. Second, if you really understand how it should be observed, you will be able to make the right choices. For example, if you have the opportunity to eat grains at 9 in the morning or at 3 in the afternoon, choose 9 in the morning. At 3 in the afternoon, don't eat grains anymore. Eat them earlier rather than later. Another example, you can't go to bed early. But if you are following a daily routine, you should get up latest at 6 in the morning. In this case, go to bed late, but get up at 6 in the morning. Then take a little rest during the day, and the day won't be lost. Your brain activity will be normal. Life will already be good. However, if you get up later, that's it. The day is lost. You need to know these details. What do you do if you break the daily routine? If you couldn't have lunch, then in the evening you should not eat grains. You should eat vegetables and go to sleep. The next day you can eat grains. It's not that bad. You won't die overnight. Is it okay to wake up early in the morning with an alarm clock? Of course, you should wake up with an alarm clock. Isn't that harmful? It's not harmful. A child at the age of 5 wakes up at least once at night. What could be causing this? It often happens with children. So, mothers with young children find it very difficult to stick to a daily routine. But nonetheless, they need to do it. They must still try. This can happen with children. Because they're children, they have a sleep cycle. It's not related to the movement of the sun, it's related to the moon's influence. The moon particularly affects children's consciousness up to the age of 7. So until the age of 7, they have no daily or sleep routine. They have their own routine, and you must observe it and follow it. Please tell us how to make clarified butter. Very simple. Take regular butter, put it in a saucepan on very low heat and stir. And when a layer of amber color appears on the top, about halfway up the saucepan, you need to remove it. That's the purest clarified butter. The bottom layer, a white color sediment, is also edible and can be added to food. And you need to stir constantly or it will burn. The amber color should appear. It's very easy to make. But if you put this butter in the fridge and it separates into 2 layers, the top layer is whitish and the bottom layer is darker in color. It means that some animal or vegetable fats were added to the butter you bought. If it's vegetable oil, then it will be at the bottom. And if it's animal fat, then on top, above the clarified butter. Soy, what is its impact on the body and the best time to consume it? Soy is a legume. Have it for lunch. The impact is normal, especially in winter. Do you strictly follow the daily routine? I try to follow the daily routine precisely. Are there any exceptions? There are. For instance, there are spiritual religious festivals that I observe. It's customary to eat at midnight, once a year on those occasions. But I don't eat grains at that time. I have a meal and go to bed. Sometimes it's beneficial to do so. But mostly I stick to my daily routine. On a train, I don't follow the daily routine. I eat grains whenever I want. The train is always in the state of ignorance. The atmosphere is befouled. What can you do there? Just eat and sleep. There's nothing else to do there. If you start thinking, wrong thoughts will come to your mind. Is it suitable to drink boiled water with condensed milk in the evening instead of regular milk? It's suitable. Also, dissolved powdered milk is suitable. Of course, it won't be exactly the same, but it's also not bad. From what perspective do you assess the usefulness and harmfulness of a product? From a medical point of view or from the interpretation of the Vedas? My medical standpoint doesn't differ from the Vedas interpretation. When a product is in the state of goodness, it brings health, not only physically but also mentally, and it gives you good fate. All the foods in passion or degradation ruin your destiny. They can't even provide physical health. Moreover, over time, they ruin physical health. The Vedic standpoint is also a medical standpoint. There's a type of medical science called Ayurveda. It's Vedic medicine. I give advice according to it. What's your attitude towards microwave ovens, Zepter cookware, and so on? Zepter cookware doesn't do any harm to a person. However, microwave ovens are the dirtiest form of fire that exists. When used, they bring diseases to the immune system. They disrupt the influence of the moon on the body and disturb sleep. Especially in childhood, if a person consumes food from the microwave oven, they will be predisposed to allergic diseases, bronchial asthma, and so on. This is the main cause of these diseases. What books can you recommend to acquire Vedic knowledge? You can start by reading my books. Everything else will be difficult for you. Vedic knowledge is expressed in a somewhat complex language. With time, you will be able to get acquainted with all these books. There's the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and so on. If one has problems with excess weight, what about grains? After all, they are considered to be very high in calories. If you have excess weight, it's enough not to eat in the evening or at night and to do morning exercises. The excess weight will disappear. Usually, people with excess weight eat heavily in the evening and all the food is absorbed by the body. Eat grains between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. and you won't be gaining any weight. At what age is it best to have a child? At the same age as to get married, as I've mentioned. If you had your first child at that age, you can have a second one before you're 40. I never feel satiated with food. I almost always want to eat more, but I weigh little. How do I overcome this? This means greediness. Such a person should practice charity. They should strive to give to others and wish happiness to everyone. Gradually, this idea, this inner state will pass. I assure you, it always happens. Tell me, please, When you were telling the young man not to go to Siberia, could he actually have chosen not to go? He couldn't have changed anything, such as the influence of time. He was supposed to leave the body at the time. However, I don't even know if he left the body on time or not. If he left the body prematurely, he could have chosen not to go. In any case, a person who sees that someone else is about to die must tell them, warn them about it. And what about Honoré de Balzac? He used to write his masterpieces only at night, drinking strong coffee. As a matter of fact, at night, The Moon's Power is a play, that's poetry. He should have written from 3 in the morning. At that time, the moon's power gives a sense of happiness. Then poetry won't be tainted by the feeling of doom. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.